I knew the moment. I saw her floral sun hat marching across my driveway that trouble had arrived. Patricia Hendress, our HOA president, self-appointed guardian of neighborhood beauty. She wasn't coming for a chat. No, she had her clipboard, her resting scowl, and a mission. "Mr. Lewis," she started, voice dripping with authority. "This camper." She jabbed a manicured finger at my pride and joy. "A silver 1984 Airstream is a violation of Section 12B of the Neighborhood Aesthetic Code." I wiped my hands on a rag, trying not to laugh. "Violation? Patricia, it's my driveway. I'm restoring it." "Driveways," she snapped, "are not for storage. They're for vehicles in regular use." "Well, I use it," I said. "Just not every morning for a coffee run." She didn't appreciate my humor. She took photos, wrote notes, and promised to take this matter up with the board. I figured it would blow over like the last time she got upset about my too tall grass. But that evening, I got the email. Subject line, notice of violation. She'd actually done it. $250 fine. Threat of towing if not removed in 72 hours. That's when I realized this wasn't about a camper. It was about control. See, Patricia ran this HOA like a kingdom. The board was just her echo chamber. Every decision, every complaint filtered through her. She'd fined old man Grayson for hanging a bird feeder. She'd demanded Mrs. Lee repaint her mailbox to a more neutral tone. And now, I was her next project. So I decided if she wanted a fight, she'd get one, just not the kind she expected. I paid the fine. I smiled at her next meeting. I even thanked her for keeping our neighborhood beautiful. She looked so smug, thinking she'd won. But the next week, I hitched my Airstream, polished to a mirror shine, and drove it down to the HOA office lot, the one she parked her Lexus in every morning. And with the whole neighborhood watching, I backed it right in beside the front door, parked it perfectly straight, put out a little lawn chair, and started sipping lemonade. Patricia nearly tripped on her heels when she saw it. "Mr. Lewis, you can't park that here," she barked. I leaned back and smiled. "Patricia, it's a vehicle in regular use. Section 12B, right?" She froze. I had her trapped by her own rules, and that was only the beginning of her meltdown. Patricia stood there, eyes wide, jaw clenched so tight I thought she might crack a tooth. Around us, a few neighbors pretended to check their mail, clearly enjoying the show. I raised my lemonade glass to them with a grin. "You can't just park this eyesore here," Patricia snapped, pacing back and forth in front of my Airstream. "Funny," I said. "You said the same thing when it was in my driveway. Now it's not on private property, so I figured we were good." Her face went red. The kind of red you only see when someone realizes the rules they made are being used against them. "I'll call the tow company," she threatened. "You'll need the HOA board's approval for that," I replied, smiling. "You know, the same board that technically doesn't have jurisdiction over this public lot." That was the moment she realized I'd done my homework. I'd spent a whole weekend reading the HOA bylaws, the local zoning ordinances, and even the parking codes. Turned out, this little office lot wasn't actually HOA property. It was leased from the city. And as long as my tags were up to date, and I wasn't blocking an entrance, I could legally park there. The next morning, I came back with my folding chair, a small grill, and a home sweet camper sign taped to the window. I made bacon and eggs while Patricia sat inside the HOA office, glaring at me through the blinds. By noon, people were stopping by. Some neighbors brought coffee, others laughed at the absurdity of it all. One even said, "Lewis, you've done what we all wanted to do for years." Patricia tried everything. She called the city. They told her I wasn't breaking any laws. She called the HOA lawyer, who confirmed she had no authority over public land. The following week, she called an emergency meeting to propose a new rule banning temporary dwellings within visual proximity of HOA facilities. But it backfired. The board was tired of her constant drama. One member even joked, "Patricia, maybe we should just let him camp there. At least he's bringing good PR." For once, the queen of control was losing her grip. And when she tried one last desperate move, filing a public nuisance complaint, that's when things really spiraled out of control. Because she forgot one crucial detail. Everything she said was on record. When Patricia called for that special session, I knew she was plotting something bigger. The email invitation was formal, full of legal buzzwords, review of code compliance, community impact assessment, and my favorite, unauthorized occupation of shared spaces. I decided to attend, of course, but I didn't come alone. I brought my laptop, a small speaker, and a manila folder full of city documents proving every single thing I'd done was legal. The meeting room was packed. People were whispering, some smirking, some curious. Patricia stood at the front in her usual pastel suit, looking like she was about to deliver a royal decree. "Mr. Lewis," she began, her voice tight but sugary. Camper has become a distraction and an embarrassment to our community. Several residents have complained about the smell of cooking, noise, and the smell of bacon. I interrupted. I didn't realize breakfast was offensive now. Laughter rippled through the room. Patricia's eye twitched. She held up a paper. As president of the HOA, I am motioning for the immediate removal of your vehicle from within a 500-foot radius of any HOA property. Those in favor. Before anyone could raise a hand, I hit play on my laptop. The room filled with Patricia's voice, a recording from 2 days earlier. I'd caught her on my dash cam when she was screaming into her phone. Outside the HOA office. I don't care what the city says. I'll make him move that tin can if I have to get a tow truck myself. The gasps around the room were loud. Someone muttered, "She actually said that?" Patricia's face turned ghost white. "That was taken out of context," she stammered. I smiled, the context being you trying to order a city contractor to tow a legal vehicle from public land? The HOA's vice president cleared his throat. "Patricia, that's a serious overreach." Another board member added, "We could be liable if she'd gone through with that." The tension snapped. The board moved to postpone her motion indefinitely, and several residents stood up, applauding. For the first time, Patricia looked small. She stormed out mid-meeting, slamming the door so hard the blinds rattled. And as everyone started talking, someone turned to me and said, "Louis, you might have just saved this neighborhood from a tyrant." I just smiled and said, "Not yet. The best part's still coming." Because the next morning, Patricia made her final, desperate move, and it cost her everything. The morning after that chaotic meeting, I expected things to calm down. Maybe Patricia would sulk for a few days, send a few passive-aggressive emails, and move on. But I should have known better. People like her don't back down. They double down. I was sitting outside my camper, sipping coffee and reading the paper, when I heard it. The rumble of an engine that didn't belong. A tow truck. I looked up just in time to see Patricia standing beside it, sunglasses on, pointing at my Airstream like she was leading a SWAT raid. "Ma'am," the driver said, looking uncertain. "You sure this is authorized?" "I don't see a citation on record." Patricia waved a folder. "It's HOA business. Just remove it before anyone sees." But people were seeing. Within minutes, neighbors came pouring out with their phones. Some even started filming. One yelled, "Hey Patricia, didn't the city say you can't touch that?" The driver frowned. "Ma'am, if this isn't HOA property, I could lose my contract for towing here." "Do it!" she screamed, losing all composure. "Do it now!" That was my cue. I walked up calmly, holding my phone, camera recording. "Morning, Patricia. Careful. That's called unlawful vehicle removal. City Code Section 14-2. She turned on me, face flushed. "You're a menace, Louis. You've made a mockery of me and this community." "Correction," I said. "You made a mockery of yourself. I just parked legally." The tow driver stepped back. "Sir, I'm not touching this." "Sorry, ma'am." He climbed in his truck and drove off, leaving Patricia standing there trembling with fury. And then, as if karma couldn't resist, a city inspector's van pulled up. Someone, probably one of the amused neighbors, had called them. The officer walked over, clipboard in hand. "Mrs. Hendris," he said, "we got a report of unauthorized towing attempts on public property. That's a violation." The color drained from her face. I was just... He handed her a pink citation slip. "You'll need to attend a city hearing next week." Word spread fast. Within days, the HOA board held an emergency vote to remove Patricia as president. The motion passed unanimously. A week later, the new board president came by my camper. He laughed, shook my hand, and said, "We're drafting a new policy. No more harassment over personal property." I finally moved my camper home that weekend, but not before taping one last note to the HOA office door. "Gone camping. HOA free since 2025. That story spread across the neighborhood. And Patricia? She sold her house 3 months later. I still park the camper in my driveway. Shiny, peaceful, and perfectly legal. Because sometimes, the best way to beat an HOA Karen is to make her live by her own rules. Thanks for watching, folks. If you enjoyed this crazy HOA showdown, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment below telling me what you'd do if an HOA Karen came after your camper. Your support keeps these wild stories rolling.